Okay, folks, I'm going to call the meeting to order. As required under the Planning Act, a public meeting is being held prior to the committee making a decision on these applications. And to start things off, I will introduce the Committee of Adjustment. And starting with, we got Ms. Richardson, Ms. Archer, Mr. Finn, Mr. Erickson, Mr. Strangway, and I'm Mr. Robertson, and we've got on Zoom Councillor Yeo. Welcome, Councillor. All righty. And here, staff in person, we've got Ms. Berry, the Director of Development Services. We've got Ms. Evans, the Acting Development Supervisor. Mr. Shahid, Planner 2. Mr. Okawat, Planner 2. We've got Mr. Lahe, the Secretary Treasurer. Mr. McKinnon, the Supervisor of Plans, Review, and Inspections. Welcome. And we've got Ms. Crockford, the Recording Secretary. Probably our most important person here is our Recording Secretary, but here we go. All right. Can I get a motion, or first of all, are there any comments or questions with respect to the agenda? All right, being none, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as printed? Mr. Strangway, Ms. Archer, any further comments or questions on that motion? All those in favor? Now, do you want us to do a recorded? All right, we'll do a recorded because of the fact that Councillor Yeo's on Zoom. So, Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Archer?
In favor.
All right. Mr. Erickson?
In favor.
Mr. Finn?
In favor.
Ms. Richardson? Mr. Strangway? And I'm in favor. That carries. All right. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest?
Yeah,
Mr.
I have
Finn.
one, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councillor, go ahead.
I'm the applicant in 3.1.2.
3.1.2. All right, might I ask, Councillor, while that's on, if you turn off your video, let's call it, please.
I will turn off my video and I'll leave my audio on in case there's a question.
Yep, thank you very much. All right, and Mr. Finn, your number.
312 also. It's located on Head Lake where I own a property.
All right, and I would ask Mr. Finn that you leave the chambers when we're discussing that application.
Yes.
Please, thank you. Before I ask for a motion on the minutes, are there any comments or questions with respect to the minutes from the last meeting? All right, being none, do I have a mover? Mr. Erickson, seconded by Ms. Richardson. Any further comments or questions on the motion? Although, oh, there I go again. All right, we've got Mr. Finn.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Ms. Archer.
In favor.
All right, Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Councillor Yeo.
In favor?
Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. That motion carries. Thank you. All right. For the benefit of anyone that's sitting here and those online, and I'm sure there probably are some online, the committee will hear comments, gather information, and may ask questions to clarify statements made. The committee may ask and answer questions or redirect questions to the appropriate person. Please note that any information or comments given to the committee during this meeting, they are considered evidence. We will first hear from staff and then the applicant or her agent. We will then hear from any person in support of, or from those who have questions, concerns, or are opposed to the application. Finally, the applicant or his or her agent will have an opportunity to respond to any of the statements made to the committee. If you wish to speak, and this goes for those sitting here as well as those online, please put your hand up if you're sitting here. I will acknowledge you and ask you to come to the podium. There is a speaker button on there. A red light will come on, and we'll ask you for your name and then proceed. And those online, I would appreciate it when you come on if you would give us your name. Once we've got through that, I would advise that we do afford you 10 minutes to speak. No one has ever taken that long, but in fact, they're much less than that. But if someone is really well, I don't like the word windy, but they like to talk, then we afford 10 minutes. And if you find you just can't possibly get it all in within the 10 minutes, then I will ask the committee if they will afford you a couple of more minutes. We've never had to do that, so we're hoping that, anyway, we proceed from there. All right. Moving right along. We're dealing with file number D20-2025-011, and this is 7 Bronte Lane, Geographic Township of Burlem. Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Thank you. The subject property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lake's official plan and is zoned residential type 1 and open space zone under the Township of Verulam zoning bylaw 6-87. The portion of the property zoned open space is located at the southern boundary, and no existing or proposed structures are to be located within that zone.
Ms. Evans, let me stop you there for a minute. Something I omitted to do and something which is very important here. For everyone here, we live stream the meeting on our YouTube channel, and the recording is available after the meeting. Because meetings are accessible to the public in all of these ways, video or audio recording by members of the public is not permitted in these council chambers. This is to ensure that all attendees and those who come to make a deputation feel at ease. And thank you for your cooperation. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ms. Evans.
The property is located on the southern shore of Sturgeon Lake and contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1977, a boathouse, and a general storage building. The proposed building will provide space for the property owner's car collection, ATVs, snowmobiles, as well as storage and workshop space, and will be a detached garage/workshop. This property might look familiar as it went through a minor variance in September, and a portion of the proposed building at that time was described as an additional residential unit, or ARU, and relief was needed for the ARU garage to be located in the front yard. The zoning bylaw allows a maximum height for a detached ARU of 10 meters. The current proposal is no longer for an ARU. This is a garage workshop and is not to be used for human habitation. As such, the maximum height for an accessory structure that is not an ARU of 5 meters applies, and relief is required to permit that proposed height. While relief was granted in September 2024 for the structure to be located in the front yard, this relief is requested again through this minor variance to avoid the two variances lapsing at different times. So today, relief is needed from the following provisions, being section 5.1.3b, which permits accessory structures in the interior side or rear yard, and the garage workshop is to be in the front yard, and section 5.1.5, which permits a maximum height for accessory structures of 5 meters, and the proposed height here is 6.5 meters. The air photo on the left here shows the property's front yard in green, which is quite extensive, limiting where an accessory structure could be located in a permitted location. This location will still allow for ample amenity space in the front yard, and the property, being 4.3 acres in size, allows for larger and taller accessory structures while still ensuring that the property does not appear overbuilt and that the residential character of the property does not change. The property is heavily vegetated, and the location of the proposed accessory structure is surrounded by a stand of mature vegetation. And the height of these trees that surround the location could result in the garage workshop appearing shorter in comparison, as the height of the trees would draw the eye upwards, making the height of the garage appear less significant in comparison. As the visibility of the structure is limited when viewing the property from the street, its location is not anticipated to impact residential character, and there are several properties in the area that have detached garages in the front yard. The proposed garage workshop has adequate setbacks from the private road, being Bronte Lane, so its location will not impede the use of the road to access the neighboring property to the east. No comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies, and no comments were received from members of the public. Based on the contents of the report, Staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Questions of the planner? No questions? All right. Is the applicant here or online? Does the applicant wish to? Yes, please come forward. Just if you'd hit that button. Great. And your name?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's Vanessa Archer, the applicant on the file from TD Consulting.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yep. Would like to thank you guys for re-evaluating this application with the change for the height that we need the variance on this time around. Here, if you needed any additional questions answered, but
Right, if you just remain at the podium and we'll see if there are. Are there any questions of the applicant? Your lucky day. All right. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application? In support of this application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Opposition to the application? Being none, committee, where are we? Mr. Strangway.
Excuse me, as recommended by staff.
All right, do I have a seconder? Mr. Finn. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none. All right. Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor?
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Councillor Yeo.
In favor?
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. All right. Your application is approved. And Councillor Yeo, thank you. All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-012, and this is 171 Sunset Beach Road, Geographic Township of Laxton. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated on the shoreline of Head Lake with access from Sunset Beach Road. According to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, the surrounding area is primarily seasonal residential. The subject property is separated from the shoreline by a shoreline road allowance, to which a condition has been added to ensure the non-ownership of the shoreline road allowance is resolved through a purchase or encroachment agreement. As it appears, the sauna and gazebo B are wholly encroaching the lands. If you refer to Appendix C of the report, you'll see I've illustrated approximate boundary of the shoreline road allowance, and you'll also see the structures I was referring to and the sketches on the next slide here as well. So the property currently contains a single detached dwelling, a detached garage, a storage container, a shed, 2 gazebos, and a sauna. The application seeks to facilitate the recognition of the 2 gazebos, being gazebo A and gazebo B, and the sauna. The existing storage container and shed will be removed as per condition number 4. With respect to the side yard, relief is required for both the sauna and gazebo A. Gazebo A has a closer side yard setback. However, as a result of being unenclosed, the visual impact on the neighboring property is reduced. There's also some vegetation buffering the structure's view. The sauna is located on a slope where passageway between the structure and the side lot line isn't easily accessible due to the topography. And the sauna is not directly located beside any neighboring structure and is heavily buffered by vegetation. A condition has been added to ensure any of the downspouts on the sauna and gazebo A are directed away from the neighboring property. Because of the slope of the property and the weather conditions at the time of our site visit, I wasn't able to get the best pictures of the structures. The subject accessory structures within the water setback do not contain habitable space, nor is habitable space being introduced within these structures. And although they are within the water setback, they are situated at a higher elevation due to the slope topography, which reduces the concern from natural hazards. I also want to note, just for comparative purposes, when looking at the rural zoning bylaw that was adopted by council, although not currently in effect, the gazebo and sauna fall under what is referred to as a shoreline structure. Now, the rural zoning bylaw actually excludes shoreline structures from being subject to a water setback. As a result, under the rural zoning bylaw, relief may not have been required from the water setback. However, the rural zoning bylaw is under appeal, so its policies are not currently in effect. With respect to comments received after the writing of the report, the Kawartha Conservation Authority commented they have no concerns and that a permit will not be required. The Development Engineering Division also stated they have no objections. All in all, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the planner? Ms. Richardson, go ahead.
Through you, on Appendix A, it just appears that the Sunset Beach Road does not abut any of those lots. Is this just poor drawings?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the property does abut Sunset Beach Road. I think it's just something to do with the mapping that displays it like that on Appendix A. The property does have frontage and access from Sunset Beach Road.
Okay. Anything further from committee? All right, being none. Is the applicant here or online? Councillor Yeo, go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm the applicant, Mr. Chair, Emmett
Yeah.
Yeo.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir. Do you have anything you wish to say to it?
I'm just here to answer any questions. I recently built a new garage on the property, and these encroachments came up, so I offered to represent Mr. Gridco, as he is from Europe, and the language barrier can be quite a bit sometimes. So I offered my services in this instance. It's all pretty straightforward. I'd like to thank staff for their work on it. And if there's any questions at all, I'll be happy to try and answer them. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize to you. I didn't realize when we were talking about the pecuniary interest that, in fact, you were representing the applicant. So, yeah, no problem. Thank you. Are there any questions of Councillor Yeo? All right, being none. Thank you, sir. All right, is there anyone here online that's wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Being none, committee. Where are we? Mr. Erickson.
Approved as written.
All right, do I have a seconder? Mr. Strangway. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none. All right. Mr. Erickson.
Favor.
Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. The motion carries. So I didn't see Councillor Yeo, it carries.
Thank you.
We're now dealing with file number. I'll give you a second to get seated there, Mr. Finn. All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-016, and this is 55 Ridge Road, Geographic Township of Bexley, and Ms. Evans. Thank you.
Sorry, to the chair, did we miss 165 McGill? Okay.
Councillor? Right, let's back up a bit. We're dealing with D20-2025-013, and this is 165 McGill, Geographic Township members. We did, but now we haven't. How's that? All right, go ahead.
Thank you. The property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and is zoned rural residential type 3 under the Township of Manvers zoning bylaw 87-06. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1975, a shed, and an accessory storage structure. The purpose of the application is to recognize an addition that was constructed onto the existing accessory storage structure for the purpose of obtaining a building permit. Relief is needed from section 20.1C of the zoning bylaw, which permits a maximum height for accessory structures of 5 meters. The existing height is 6.5 meters, and the addition can be seen on the right side of the screen here. This area is the addition that was constructed that needs relief. The subject accessory structure, as seen in these photos, is located in the rear yard and is not visible from the street, so its height does not alter the character of the property when viewing it from the street. The neighboring property closest to the subject structure does not contain any buildings and appears to be used for outdoor recreation purposes. Additionally, the subject accessory structure is not used for human habitation. Massing and privacy issues are not anticipated. After the writing of the report, the Engineering and Corporate Assets Division provided that they have no comment on or objection to the minor variance. Kawartha Region Conservation Authority has provided that they have no concerns with the approval of the minor variance and that a compliance permit has been issued for the work. Just before the meeting today, I was given a list containing the signatures of 6 neighboring property owners who have confirmed that they have no objections to the minor variance. No other comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies, and no comments were received from members of the public. Based on the contents of the report, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified within the report. Thank you.
So 6 neighbors responding positively. That's got to be a new one. So, all right. Are there any questions of the applicant? Oh, geez, bad day. Of the planner? All right, being none. Is the applicant here or is the applicant online? Wish to speak to the application? Oh, I'm told yes, so online. Is the applicant there? Oh, there he is. Yes, your name, sir, please. Yeah, we can't hear you speaking. Have you got a button there you need to push to speak?
Okay, very good.
Good. Your name,
yes.
sir, please.
Mohsen Kazemi.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you for the committee to go through this and for your reports. And I'm here to respond to any comments. Beside me is Insuko, my wife, the owner of the property.
No further comments? Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, being none. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much, and everybody there. Appreciated your work.
Thank you. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Yes. And your name, please. After you get that red light on. There you go. Your name?
Paula Kelly.
You go ahead.
I'm the neighbor to the south, and I was the one that provided the signatures of the neighbors that are in favor of this going forward.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the deputy? Thank you again. We appreciate you taking the time. Anyone online wishing to speak again in support of the application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Being none, where are we? Ms. Richardson.
As recommended by staff.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, Mr. Erickson? Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All right. Being none, Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
All right. Mr. Erickson?
In favor.
Mr. Finn?
In favor?
Ms. Archer?
In favor.
Councillor Yeo?
In favor?
Mr. Strangway?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Thank you. All right. Your application is approved, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good day and good weekend. God bless you.
All right. Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Sheed, I'll see if I can get the numbers right this time. We've got file number D20-2025-014, and this is 94 Irene Avenue, Geographic Township of Sturgeon Point. Mr. Sheed, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located in the former village of Sturgeon Point with access from Irene Avenue. According to the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, there's no clear time frame for the construction of built form in this area. Much of the built form was constructed in the early 1900s and has gone through varying extents of renovations and or additions. The subject property itself currently contains a one-story detached dwelling that was constructed in 1914, as well as a shed. The proposal seeks to raise the existing dwelling in order to allow for a basement. The existing front yard setback is 2.8 meters from the front enclosed porch and 1.7 meters from the steps extending from the porch. The setbacks are being maintained, thus not being further reduced as part of this proposal. The applicant has also indicated that the existing height of the dwelling is 4.5 meters and is not anticipated to change with the construction of a basement, reducing concern regarding impacts of views from the street. An established building line is not present along Irene Avenue, with some dwellings set back deep into their lots far from the road and others very close to the front lot line. The neighboring dwelling to the west is an example of a lot with an existing front yard setback very similar to that of the subject property. After the writing of the report, comments were received from the Development Engineering Division, who stated they have no objections. The Supervisor of Plans Review and Inspections also stated they have no comments. To conclude, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheed. Questions of the planner? Being none. Is the applicant here? Yes. I believe we've seen you before.
And you might see me again.
And your name again for the record?
Vanessa Archer, the applicant from TD Consulting.
You go ahead.
Thank you for the report there from the planner. As noted, the neighboring property is very similar as the setback, and we're not decreasing further to the road, just asking to be able to lift the house and put a basement underneath.
And thank you for that. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, thank you. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application, opposition to the application? All right, committee being none, where are we? Mr. Finn?
As recommended by staff.
All right, do I have a seconder? Mr. Strangway? Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Mr.
Just wondering to the planner, should we add the condition that a sewage permit is required?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, we don't need to add that as a condition because that would be taken through the building permit process regardless.
Any further comments or? No. All right, the motion on the floor. Mr. Finn then?
In favor?
All right. Mr. Strangway?
In favor.
Ms. Richardson?
In favor.
Councillor Yeo?
In favor?
And Ms. Archer?
In favor.
Mr. Erickson?
In favor.
All right, and I'm in favor. That motion carries. Your application is approved. All right. And moving right along, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-015, and this is 39 Burnett Shore Road, Geographic Township of Somerville. Ms. Evans.
Thank you. The subject property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lake's official plan and is zoned limited service residential under the Township of Somerville zoning bylaw 7845. The property is located on the eastern shore of Balsam Lake in an area that contains residential, commercial, and agricultural uses. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1947, a single detached dwelling constructed in 1953, and a shed. The sketch on the slide here shows what currently exists on the property, being the two single detached dwellings. The purpose and effect of this application is to facilitate the demolition of one of the dwellings, being the dwelling shown here in white, and the construction of a new, larger dwelling. The dwelling that is to be demolished and replaced was constructed in 1953 and holds a legal nonconforming status on the property whereby the existence of two single detached dwellings predate the zoning bylaw adopted in 1978 that zones the property limited service residential, and Section 5.2K of that zoning bylaw permits a maximum of one dwelling unit per lot. Therefore, a minor variance under Section 45.2AI is being sought. This sketch shows what is proposed with the new, larger dwelling in purple. The committee may approve the enlargement or extension of a building or structure if it was lawfully used for a purpose prohibited by the bylaw continuously before the day the bylaw was passed. The two dwellings have existed on the property since before the zoning bylaw was passed on December 19, 1978. Therefore, the applicant is proposing a building enlargement and extension of the use to the existing legal nonconforming building, being one of the single detached dwellings. One dwelling is to be demolished and a new larger dwelling constructed, and the other existing dwelling will remain as it is today. This photo shows the property as viewed from the front yard, with the dwelling to be demolished and replaced outlined in red, and the dwelling that's to remain as it is in green. Policy 34.1 of the official plan provides that nothing in the official plan or the implementing zoning bylaw prevent the use of any land, building, or structure for a purpose prohibited by this plan if the land, building, or structure was lawfully used for that purpose on the date this plan was adopted by council. The property is zoned to permit residential uses as well as accessory uses, and this residential zoning has been in place since at least 1978. Two dwellings have existed on this property since 1947 and 1953, respectively. Both dwellings are relatively small in size, and the proposed new dwelling will provide more space for the property owners. The existing dwelling that is to be demolished is 1 story and approximately 95 square meters, and the proposed dwelling is to be 2 stories with a total gross floor area of 155.8 square meters. The second dwelling, seen on the right here, will continue to be used by the property owners as extra space for visiting family and friends. The proposed new dwelling complies with all provisions of the LSR zone, apart from the maximum number of dwellings per lot. The surrounding area consists of residential uses and a mixture of 1- and 2-story dwellings. The continuation of the residential use is in keeping with surrounding uses, and the continued existence of 2 dwellings on the property and the enlargement of one of the dwellings is not anticipated to impact neighboring properties, environmental features, or the function of the right-of-way. The supervisor of Part 8 sewage systems provided that a sewage system application for a permit has been submitted for the proposed new single detached dwelling, and at this time, the final proposal and evaluation for the sewage system to service the property and structures remains outstanding. So to ensure the proposal is compliant with septic requirements, the supervisor has requested a condition, being condition 3 in the report. No other comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies. Comments were received from the owner of 37 Burnett Shore Road, the adjacent property, in support of the application, and no other comments were received from members of the public. Based on the contents of the report, staff respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified within the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Questions of the planner? Ms. Archer.
Through you, please, to Ms. Evans. I'm just a little concerned. It says the powers of the committee is if we were enlarging or extending the building. to my way of thinking, if this is being demolished, it's a brand-new building, so is that allowed?
Thank you. Through the chair. So because the building is still here today, it has not been demolished, it does give the committee the jurisdiction to permit its demolition and reconstruction. And then the second part being it can be enlarged. So that's also within committee's jurisdiction to approve.
Anything further from committee? Mr. Erickson?
Could I just ask the planner, on Appendix B, the picture, it doesn't show anything necessarily in the water, but on Appendix D, is that a dock or is that a structure going out towards off the property?
Ms. Evans?
Through the chair, is it the more northern thing that looks like a dock?
I'll show them.
Through the chair, yeah, I can see what you're saying. It's not on the air photo. So the air photo is from 2013, or 2023 rather. And this was made this year for this minor variance application. It also could be that they take their dock out, and when the photo was taken in 2023, the dock wasn't there at the time because it hadn't been put in for the season, or it could be a misalignment with our GIS and lot lines.
So I assume it's not a boathouse.
Through the chair, no, it's not a boathouse.
All right, anything further from committee? All right, being none, is the applicant here? Yes, please come forward. See if you can find the red light on that, sir. All right, and your name?
It's Andrew Tan.
Thank you, go ahead.
Thank you to the committee and Ms. Evans for the report. My name is Andrew Tan, and together with my wife, Carolyn Coe, we're the owners of 39 Burnett Shore Road. We've owned this property for over 30 years, and it has served as a place of great memories for our family. This is a multi-generational cottage with 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and that seems to be growing. I've recently retired, and we are looking to spend more time in the city of Kawartha Lakes, with the potential of even potentially moving here more on a permanent basis. And to this effect, this is the reason why we're looking to sort of rebuild the cottage into something that is more year-round. And I'm open to any questions, comments.
All right, thank you for that, sir. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, and again, thank you for taking the time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you could just turn that mic off for me, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application? In support of the application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Opposition to the application? All right, committee, I'm advised no. Where are we? Mr. Strangway?
As recommended by staff.
All right, and seconded by Ms. Richardson. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none. All right. Strangway.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
All right. Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Your application is approved, sir. We're now dealing with file number D20-2025-016, and this is 55 Ridge Road. That rings a bell. I must have said that once before, did I? I think I did. All right, Township of Bexley. Ms. Evans, go ahead.
Thank you. The subject property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lake's official plan and is zoned Rural Residential Type 3, Exception 1 under the Township of Bexley zoning bylaw 93-09. The exception zone requires a site-specific front and interior side yard setback for the main building, as well as a site-specific height for boathouses, site-specific maximum height for boathouses. The subject property is within an established residential neighborhood located on the southern shore of Balsam Lake. It currently contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1990, a shed, a detached garage, and a boathouse. The proposal is to demolish the existing boathouse and construct a new, larger boathouse, and relief is needed from the following sections of the zoning bylaw. Section 3.1.5.1 provides that a boathouse is subject to the minimum side yard setback for accessory buildings and structures, and that setback comes from Section 3.1.2.2, which requires a minimum interior side yard setback for accessory structures of 1.2 meters. The proposed setback is 1 meter. Additionally, Section 12.3.1.2 permits a maximum height for a boathouse of 4 meters, and the proposed height is 4.5 meters. The new boathouse will provide additional space for the property owners to store boating equipment. Several properties in the immediate vicinity have boathouses, so the proposal is in keeping with existing built form in the area. These photos show the existing boathouse. As per policy 20.3.10 of the official plan, provisions such as building and structure height limits are implemented to ensure buildings and structures do not exceed the height of the tree canopy or break the skyline horizon. Building heights should be measured from the lakeside, maintain a low profile, and blend with natural surroundings. The subject property contains a stand of mature vegetation, and the boathouse will not exceed the height of the tree canopy. It is located next to these trees, so the proposed location allows the best opportunity for a boathouse to blend with the natural features that exist on the property. And it is not anticipated that the boathouse will starkly stand out against the horizon when viewing the property from the water or from across the lake. The proposal is to maintain as much of the same footprint of the existing boathouse as possible, which has an interior side yard setback of 1 meter, so the proposal does not encroach further into the side yard than what currently exists. As seen in the photo on the right, the vegetation provides a buffer between the proposed boathouse and the abutting lot. As seen in the photos on the left, both neighboring properties contain boathouses, neither of which abut the location of the proposed boathouse, maintaining privacy. Impacts to lot drainage are not anticipated, and the 1 meter setback will provide sufficient space for building maintenance. The proposed boathouse does not contain a second story, and human habitation is not proposed. As per Section 12.3.1.2 of the zoning bylaw, the height of a boathouse in the RR3 Exception 1 zone is measured starting at the maintained summer water level as opposed to the foundation of the building. The existing boathouse is 4 meters in height, and the proposed 0.5 meter increase is not anticipated to result in massing issues. As seen in the top left photo, the neighboring property to the west contains what appears to be a 2-story boathouse based on the configuration of the building as well as location of doors. So the proposed increase in height on the subject property is not out of character with adjacent lots. No comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies, and no comments were received from members of the public. A permit will be required from Kawartha Region Conservation Authority, and the applicant is working through that process. Based on the contents of the report, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application, subject to the conditions identified within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the planner, Mr. Strangway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Evans, looking at the map or the diagram and the pictures, it appears, well, I'm quite sure this boathouse is actually built out over the water. Is that correct?
Through the chair, partially that's correct, yes.
Now, when you mention permission, will there also be permission required from Trent Severn Waterway?
Through the chair, a permit would be required if construction was proposed within the water. So the applicant is here and perhaps they can speak to their correspondence with TSW if there's been any so far.
Thank you. And also, just to follow up, is that we don't normally see new boathouses built out over the water, but it's quite common for the older ones. Is the fact that this is a replacement, is the reason why that we're going ahead with approval of this?
Through the chair, the zoning bylaw doesn't speak to or have any restrictions against boathouses that partially go out over the water, as long as they get the appropriate approval from applicable government authority, which would be the Conservation Authority in this case, and then the TSW, depending on the built form here.
Thank you.
And just hang on to your thought there, maybe with the applicant, if they're there. All right, anything else? Any other questions of the committee for the planner? All right, being none, is the applicant here? Oh, here we go again. And again, your name for the record, please.
Hello, Vanessa Archer from TD Consulting. Through you, Mr. Chair. To answer Mr. Strangeway's question, the TSW permit will be required. We have not applied for that because we need a minor variance before we can go through with any of the construction processes. But TSW will require a permit. We're well aware of that. We will work that out with them. To answer the piece about water or boathouses over the water, TSW does allow boathouses. You can actually build a boathouse over top of the water completely with TSW's permits. People just don't typically do it around this area, but Muskoka Lakes, you see those boathouses with 100-foot docks that go out to them all the time. But Trent Severn does allow those in their policies. Again, we just don't see them a lot around here, but they will allow the replacement. We're confident that they will allow the replacement in that same footprint. We are not going further into the water beyond the existing pier that's shown on that site plan, but we will be building back further into the land a little bit, and that's where conservation also comes in, which, as mentioned, we are working through with them. And we're aware that we also need their board approval for the size of the boathouse because it's over the 80 square meters permitted by their policies. So we're going through all those channels.
Thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anything further of the applicant? All right, and as well from me, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time. All right. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application. All right, committee, where are we? Ms. Archer.
In favor of as printed.
Did I see a hand there, Councillor Yeo?
Yeah.
Second, all right. Seconded by Councillor Yeo. All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none. Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Councillor Yeo.
In favor?
Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Your application is approved. We're just smoking right along here. All right. We're now dealing with file number D20-2025-017, and this is 4 Linden Valley Road, Geographic Township, Mariposa. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated at the intersection of Simcoe Street and Linden Valley Road, a residential agricultural area. The subject property currently contains a single detached dwelling, a 1.5-story barn, a storage structure, and a storage container. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of a detached garage with a 2nd-story additional residential unit, as well as construction of a lean-to addition onto an existing storage structure. The applicant has indicated that the first floor of the garage will be predominantly dedicated to a garage use, with a portion to be used for stairs to access the 2nd-story ARU internally. The existing barn is to be demolished and the storage container will be removed. So relief is required from the maximum permitted accessory structure lot coverage. It should be noted that the proposed development actually results in a reduction in accessory structure lot coverage than what currently exists and brings the property closer to conformity with the requirements of the zoning bylaw. This is because the existing barn, as shown on the slide, is to be removed, and the ARU garage that is being constructed in its general place covers less ground, has a smaller building footprint. Also, although the lot coverage is exceeded in terms of maximum allowable square meters for accessory built form, which is 150 square meters, the percentage of the lot dedicated to accessory structures, which is 7.69%, falls under the maximum permitted rate of 10% of the zoning bylaw. Looking at the existing storage structure, the location of the structure and the proposed addition is in the corner of the property, the furthest location from the intersection and the public view, and is buffered by light vegetation between the neighboring properties. After the writing of the report, the supervisor Part 8 sewage systems commented that they have no issue with the proposal and there were no other comments received. In conclusion, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions of the planner? Ms. Archer, go ahead.
You, please, to Mr. Shahid. In Appendix B, it appears there are quite a few buildings not too far away from the intended ARU being built. Are any of them barns? Is there any MDS problem?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the subject property to the east, so to the right, that is a residential property. And I'm just going to confirm with the property to the west as well. I believe that is also, I'm just going to confirm that before I say anything. Thank you. Give me 1 second here.
Follow up? Oh, all right. Shahid, I'm going to ask you to get a little closer to that microphone, if you would, please.
Yeah, for sure. Did you hear what I said before, though? I didn't catch it all. Oh, okay. I said I'm just taking a look at the aerial imagery. So the property to the right, so to the east, that is a residential property. Here, let me... So the property to the east, that is a residential property. To the west, I'm just taking a look at that right now to make sure that is not a barn.
Thank you.
While you're looking, can you tell me what is the MDS? Is there so many meters between a new build and a barn?
Just for the benefit of the folks sitting there, we go through this on a routine basis because we're here to make informed decisions, not just decisions. And as a result, some of the questions require our planning group to put their heads together. So bear with us, please. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So unfortunately, I can't look at what is on the property to the west because that is not within our municipality because this property is right on the border. But regardless, the residential use has already been established on this property. So it won't exacerbate any existing impacts if there is potentially a barn on the neighboring property to the west.
All right, I think it was a follow-up question about separation distance, so...
The distance, please, for the MDS, because it is a new residence, so it'll be new people moving in. I just don't understand that rationale.
I think there is a requirement for a minimum distance separation, MDS.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So MDS applies when there's a new lot being created or when there's a new barn. In this case, or an expansion of a barn, sorry. In this case, we wouldn't be applying the MDS because it's just an addition of the existing residential use.
Can you tell me what the MDS is then, please? If it were, we could use it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it depends on various factors, depending on the actual agricultural use. So for example, on the type of livestock, manure storage, and there's other various factors. So there isn't a set number that I can provide you with.
I'm here, yeah. I thought there was a standard distance, but apparently there isn't a standard then. It's, thank you. Anything further from committee? All right, being none, is the applicant here or on? Yeah, yes, sir, please come forward. And your name, sir?
Jeremiah Boudreau. I'm just here if there's any questions regarding the property. I'd like to thank everybody for their time in this.
And thank you for taking the time. If you just bear with us for a minute then. Are there any questions? Yes, Ms. Archer?
Through you, please, to the applicant. Is there a barn across the road, across Simcoe Street to the west?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Anything further of the applicant? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time again.
Thank you very much.
All right. All right, is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Being none, committee, where are we? Councillor Yeo.
As printed.
Do I have a seconder? Ms. Richardson. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none. Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Mr. Strangway.
In favor?
Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Your application is approved, sir. And again, moving right along here, where are we? All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-018, and this is vacant lot, Rutherford Road, Geographic Township of Fenland. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is currently vacant and located in a residential agricultural area with access from Rutherford Road. A single detached dwelling with attached garage is currently proposed on the property as well, which are not subject to this application. The minor variance application seeks to facilitate the construction of a detached garage. The garage will be used to store yard equipment and for personal vehicle maintenance. The owners have indicated that relief is requested in order to accommodate for a specific type of door for the proposed garage. With the area being predominantly residential agricultural, the proposed building aligns with build form massing one would typically see in an agricultural area. The proposed garage is to be located in the rear yard in a more discreet location on the property, as it is guarded by vegetation on the southern side lot line and western rear lot line, reducing visual impacts on the abutting neighbors. After the writing of the report, comments were received from Development Engineering, who stated they have no objections. To conclude, staff acknowledges the application meets all four tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the planner? Ms. Archer.
Through you, please, to Mr. Shahid. Is it because of the zoning that we're allowed to have an accessory building to stand alone?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So no, you're not allowed to have an accessory structure standalone here. They are going through the building permit process for their dwelling and attached garage. And now they're looking, because they're looking to build that detached garage. So they can't have a detached garage by itself, but they are already going through and have started the building permit process for that house. So when the detached garage will be constructed, the house will have already been completed as well.
To follow up then, please, is there any time frame that they have to do the building? Like, they could get the permit and do nothing for a gazillion years and it would be standalone with no problem?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong report here. So they have 2 years for the construction of this garage. And obviously the house isn't subject to this timeline. I believe the building permit may expire. Just give me a second here to confirm with our the supervisor.
Mr. McKinnon, you wish to speak to it?
I can answer that question. After 1 year, the building division can revoke an issued permit if no work has been substantially completed, or if a permit is in the pending status. After that year, we can also just cancel the permit if there is no active status work going on at all. If they're not trying to achieve the issued status, we can cancel the permit.
But if that happened, would this garage that's being built be allowed to stay there as a standalone?
Through you, Your Chair, we wouldn't allow that to happen. It wouldn't be built first. The house would have to be built first.
I see another question there.
But that's not what this applicant says, is it? They want to build it just so they can store stuff when they build.
Mr. Heed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if it makes a committee more comfortable, I can also recommend that we add a condition that the building permit for the house be approved and processed first before the construction of the garage be started, so we're not left alone with just a garage by itself before the house is constructed. We can add that condition.
Keep. Oh, you think you're Mr. Lahey now, do you? So, where are any further questions of the applicant or of the planner? Yes, Ms. Archer, Ms. Richardson. Jeez.
It's just a comment. I had the same concerns as Mrs. Archer, and I support the addition of that added condition.
And I think, yeah, we'll deal with that when the motion comes up. All right. All right. Any further questions of the planner? Okay, being none. I see a picture. Are you the applicant, sir, that I'm looking at online here?
Yes, Mike Cooper.
Your name, please?
Mike Cooper.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just here for any questions. The permits have all been issued for the house, and we're hoping to start that this spring. We were just trying to get all the permits for everything done. We're not looking at building the garage first.
Because I was going to ask you if you had heard the conversations regarding perhaps an added condition. So where are you with that?
Yeah, that's fine if you want to put that in.
Right. Anything further?
No.
From you? All right. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application. Ms. Archer, I'm going to go back.
I would request some assistance from Mr. Shahid, please, for the condition.
All right, so the motion as amended, or the applicant has.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I just want to clarify. So with the added condition, I know I originally said that we can put that condition. The thing is, the permit was already issued for the house, and Matt here has also stated as well that they wouldn't allow for the construction of the garage until they wouldn't allow for standalone garage. So we can put that condition just for our comfort, and if we were to put that condition, we can say something along the lines of that building construction for the garage not be commenced until building construction for the dwelling has completed.
All right, Mr. McKinnon, I'm going to go back to you then. We sometimes ask for these conditions just to red flag it for the building department. Are you satisfied?
Through your chair, yes.
So do you want to make that motion then, Ms. Archer? All right. And second, question, Mr.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about that wording from Mr. Shahid. I believe you said that the construction of the garage cannot commence until the house is completed. And yet I'm thinking, you have contractors in there and so on. That seems a little limiting to the builder to me. Is there a better wording we could use that would still guarantee what we need, and yet, a cement truck comes in, it does the pad for the garage as well and so on? That's what I'm getting at.
Through you, Mr. Chair, for sure. We can say, instead of completion of the dwelling, we can say until there's substantial completion of the dwelling. So not when it's entirely fully completed construction, just when it's substantially completed, and then they can begin with their garage.
Down there from Mr. McKinnon. See what you've started, Ms. Archer? There are no, they're all good.
Mr. Chair, perhaps we could ask the owner how the construction will progress, so we can get perhaps a timeline if we're dealing with the drafting of the condition.
Is the owner still, or the applicant still online?
Yes.
All right. We don't see you there. Can you come back on? All right, Mr. Finn, one of the committee members has a question for you. Go ahead, Mr. Finn.
Yes, Mr. Cooper, we're discussing the construction of the garage as a separate entity from the construction of the house, and we have some concern as to whether the construction of the garage should be allowed to proceed before we know that the house is going to be substantially completed or completed. Can you tell us whether you or your contractor has a timeline for the construction of the garage and the house, so that we can draft this further condition that we're thinking of?
Well, we're hoping that the house started this spring and completed by the end of the year, and then depending on funding, how much is left, we'll start the garage then.
So the intent is to build the garage after the house is built?
Yes.
Okay.
No, and thank you for that, Mr. Finn. But I don't think a condition wouldn't be out of the, just to red flag it. So. Because we've heard in the past from the chief building official that they like these red flags on these applications, just so when they're going through the building permit process, it jumps out at them. Otherwise, it could get missed. So. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Cooper. We appreciate it.
No problem.
we're just, we're having discussions here, the planners are, with respect to how the condition should be worded, so just bear with us.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you all for your patience here. So we're recommending the language of the condition be worded that it says that building construction of the detached garage shall be, sorry, let me rephrase that. That building construction for the detached garage shall begin can commence after the first.
Wording? Who seconded that? Are you content, Ms. Richardson? All right. All right. Any, yes, Mr.
Mr. Shahid, I really like that wording. I think that's great, and I appreciate that. Just remind me, is first inspection foundation, or what is first inspection?
Through you, your chair. Typically, the first inspection for a single detached dwelling would be a footing inspection.
That's great, and that leaves the applicant, I think, the freedom to build accordingly. And I appreciate both of your efforts on this. Thank you.
Mr. Cooper, are you clear on the discussions we've just had here?
Yes.
Thank you. Right. I've got. Okay. Let's try it. Have we got any more questions then of the planner, or any more questions of the applicant? All right, being none. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? All right, anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? All right, being none. I think we've got a motion anyway, yeah, so we've gone through that again. All right, I'll start then. Are there any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? Being none, Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Mr. Strongway.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. The motion carries. Your application is approved, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I repeat again, there's no such thing as a bad question. They're all good ones, so the more the merrier. Thank you. All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-019, and this is 6 Sunrise Crescent, Geographic Township of Fenland. Ms. Evans, go ahead.
The subject property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lake's official plan and is zoned rural residential type 3 under the Township of Fenland zoning bylaw 12-95. The property is located on the western shore of Sturgeon Lake. It currently contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1964, an above-ground pool, a boathouse, and a pump house. The proposal is to recognize the boathouse and pump house currently under construction for the purposes of obtaining building permits. Section 3.1.5.1 of the zoning bylaw provides that a boathouse and a pump house are subject to the minimum side yard setback for accessory buildings and structures, which comes from section 3.1.2.2, which requires a minimum interior side yard setback for accessory structures of 1.2 meters. The existing setbacks of both the pump house and the boathouse are 0.6 meters. The official plan provides that a boathouse and a pump house are permitted within the water setback. The previously existing boathouse and pump house had setbacks of 0.6 meters, so the new structures do not encroach further into the interior side yards than what existed previously. Additionally, the structures are on opposite sides of the property, so they do not both encroach into the same side yard. Neither structure contains habitable space and will not abutting the neighboring dwellings, so privacy issues are not anticipated. And each structure is approximately 3 meters in height, so building maintenance on the side of the structures would not require a large ladder, and it is anticipated that building maintenance could occur unimpeded within the 0.6 meter setback. Since the writing of the report, the conditions have been updated and have been printed and provided to the committee members. The supervisor of Part 8 sewage systems has provided that a sewage system application for a permit has been submitted for the proposal, and at this time, the evaluation of the sewage system remains outstanding. So to ensure the proposal is compliant with septic requirements, the supervisor has requested a condition, being condition 3. The Building and Septic Division has confirmed that 6 months is an appropriate amount of time for the conditions on the minor variance, and as such, the number of months for conditions 2 and 3 have been updated. Kawartha Region Conservation Authority has commented that there is an active violation on the property, and they have provided that they will support the minor variance, provided that the violation is resolved by the owner in coordination with Kawartha Conservation before May 31st, 2025, and that all permitting fees are paid. As such, condition 4 has been added to ensure this matter is resolved to the satisfaction of KRCA prior to the issuance of a building permit. No other comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies. The owner of 318 Kenry Park Road commented that they have no issue with the proposal. Based on the contents of the report, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the planner? Ms. Archer?
Are you pleased to Ms. Evans? On Appendix C, I'm not sure if that's the boathouse or the pump house on the right-hand side, so I guess it's the southeast corner. What is the square rectangle to the north of that, please?
Through the chair, I do believe it is like a concrete pad at grade, but because when I did the site visit it was so snowy, I couldn't see it for sure, but the owner is here today and could speak to it.
So it's okay to stay there without having the minor variance?
Through the chair, I don't believe it's a structure, and you can see in the photo on the left here, there's no structure or addition to the structure that juts out from the boathouse, so whatever it is at grade.
Further questions of the planner? All right, being none. Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. And your name, sir?
Jordan Cardozo.
All right, go ahead.
The pad that you're referring to was just from the existing boathouse, so that has stayed in place there just due to the grade. Sorry, it's just due to the grade. There is a stone roadway that comes down the side of the house, and that was just the pad that tied into the garage door existing. Okay, and I'm here for any other questions.
All right. Are there any further questions of the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time. Is there anyone here or online wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone here or online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Being none, committee, where are we? Councillor Yeo.
As printed.
Do I have a seconder? Ms. Archer? All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All right, being none. Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Ms. Archer?
In favor.
All right, Mr. Erickson?
In favor.
Mr. Finn?
In favor.
Okay, Mr. Richardson?
In favor.
And Mr. Strangway?
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Motion carries. Your application's approved, sir. Okay, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-020, and this is 748 County Road 24, Geographic Township of Verlin. Mr. Shahid, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is situated on the shoreline of Sturgeon Lake with access from County Road 24. The property currently contains a 2-story cottage with a detached garage. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of a front covered porch to allow for access to the dwelling's elevated entrance. The width of the porch landing is 2.44 meters, with steps extending into the front yard. Relief is required for the front yard, as the existing dwelling is set back exactly 7.5 meters from the front lot line. As a result, anything extending from the dwelling into the front yard would not comply with the required yard setback. When on site, the road shoulder appears wide, distancing built form from the traveled portion of the road, which contributes to the perception that the built form is situated further from the front lot line than is actually the case. The proposed porch does not impact the traveled portion of the road, and as a result of being unenclosed, it is not expected to negatively impact the perception of the surrounding built form. After the writing of the report, comments were received from the Kawartha Region Conservation Authority, who stated they have no concerns and that a permit will be required. A comment was also received from the owners of 744 County Road 24, who have stated their support for the approval of the application, and there were no other comments received. All in all, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there questions of the planner? Mr. Finn?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, looking at Appendix C, whether any consideration was given to having the stairs at either end of the porch rather than at the front going towards the road.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, that is a lengthy conversation that I did have with the applicant. And there were a few reasons. I think the applicant can go over those reasons himself when it's time for him to answer. If he is there, if he's not there, then I can go over them as well.
Okay.
All right, just hang on to that thought, Mr. Finn. Any further questions of the planner? All right, being none. Is the applicant here or online? Does the applicant wish to speak to the application? All right, Mr. Shahid, it looks like you're to explain.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair, so there was a few reasons. Number one, or let me go to the sketch. So towards the right side of this image, where that's originally where I was thinking the step should go to. It can't go towards the left side because of the side yard setback. So I spoke to him about potentially bringing it to the right side, but the issue is there's a holding tank there, so we weren't able to put it there. And then there was also some subjective reasons why he wanted it to be coming towards the front of the property. Just to state his own points, and it was because for the symmetry of the house from looking at it from the roadside. He also wanted to connect there's an existing deck there. It's hard to see on the slide, but if you refer to the report, he wanted to connect the existing deck to this proposed porch. And then he also mentioned that putting the stairs at the front of the property would allow for more space for storage under the deck. But the main point for me was really the holding tank.
Thank you.
All right. Any further questions of the planner? Okay, the applicant's not here. All right. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Being none. Committee, where are we? Mr. Strangway.
As recommended by staff.
Do I have a seconder? Mr. Finn? All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All right. Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
All right. Ms. Archer.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Councilor Yeo.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. The application is approved. All right, we're now dealing with file number D20-2025-021, and this is 43 Campbell Beach Road, Geographic Township of Carden. Ms. Evans.
The property is designated waterfront under the City of Kawartha Lakes official plan and zoned rural residential type 2 under the Township of Carden zoning bylaw 78-2. The property is located on the eastern shore of Lake Dalrymple in an area that contains residential and agricultural uses, and it currently contains a single detached dwelling constructed in 1954, 2 sheds, and a boathouse. The proposal is to construct a detached garage, and relief is needed from section 14.1B of the zoning bylaw, which permits accessory structures in the interior side or rear yard, and the proposed garage is to be located in the front yard. It will provide covered parking as well as storage space. The photo on the left shows the front yard of the subject property. The dwelling is set back approximately 44 meters from the front lot line, giving the property an extensive front yard. There's also limited space in the interior side yard to locate a garage, and attempting to locate a garage in the rear yard would cause issues with water setback. The front yard is also a logical location for the garage to allow for vehicle access from the existing driveway. As seen in the photo on the right, between the front lot line and the traveled portion of the road, there is a mature hedge which provides a visual buffer. The proposed garage complies with the maximum height for accessory structures and the minimum front yard setback, and will not result in any impacts to traffic, road maintenance, or sightlines. As seen on the left here, identified by the orange dots along the road, there are several properties along Campbell Beach Road that have garages in the front yard, including the neighboring property to the northeast, and that garage can be seen in the photo on the right. So the proposal is in keeping with the existing built form. And just for comparative purposes, most of the city's existing rural zoning bylaws, as well as the new rural zoning bylaw, will not currently in effect permit garages in the front yard when a property fronts on a navigable waterway, as this property does. No comments of concern were raised by any of the circulated agencies, and no comments were received from members of the public. Based on the contents of the report, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the conditions identified within the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the planner? Ms. Archer.
For you, please, to Ms. Evans. It looks like this shoreline road allowance runs across the front of it. Is that correct? And who owns it if it is?
Through the chair, it does look like there is a shore road allowance. Sorry, lost the microphone there. I don't know if the property owner owns it or not, but the garage is not to be located on or anywhere near the shore road allowance here.
It just, like, there are 2 buildings that appear to be on that road allowance, and I thought if it's a city, they should be alerted.
Through the chair, they're not the subject of the minor variance here, and we don't tend to use the minor variance as a kind of enforcement tool to make people purchase the shore road allowance. In the case of Ahmed's file, the structures that were the subject of the minor variance were on a shore road allowance that was not owned. That's why there was a condition there. But in this case, it would really be outside of the scope for the garage, which isn't near it, to require that purchase.
Anything further from committee? I don't believe there's any obligation on the property owners to purchase that shoreline road allowance. It's strictly a voluntary thing, if they wish to purchase it.
Through the chair, that's correct.
That's what I thought as well, but I also thought if they got a building on it and there's a liability issue, the city, if they own it, should make them sign an agreement of some sort.
Well, and I agree. Is there not some tools with respect to an encroachment agreement? Because I agree with Ms. Archer. Like, are we just going to leave it open like that?
Through the chair, there are encroachment agreement options, and they very well could have one of those agreements in place. It's just outside of the scope of this minor variance for me to do that kind of research into structures that may or may not be on a road allowance that's either owned or has some kind of agreement, when that's not the structure that we're looking at today.
I understand, but I also think because we're an arm of the city of Kawartha Lakes, if we're aware that there's an encroachment, the realty, whoever, somebody should be made aware of that.
Through the chair, we do circulate realty services on all of our minor variances, so they get an opportunity to see them. Whether they act on it or not is up to them.
Yeah. Just, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but I'm aware of, because of my former council activities, that if there are shoreline road allowances, the city is extremely interested in doing their best to mitigate or prevent liability issues as they relate to those shoreline road allowances. So I'm just, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm just curious that we would leave that open. And if there's a liability issue, then we deal with it as if it occurs.
I think we just watch where this committee takes its bounds to.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that, Councillor.
I think the city is well circulated on these files, and I think this committee should maybe be wary of how far they stretch their powers and allow the circulation to do its job, and the city can pick up on the effects there.
Well, it's not a case of stretching our powers. I think it's just curiosity as to why we would allow that to proceed when it's actually encroaching, but
I don't think, as the planner said, I don't think the buildings that are encroachment had anything to do with this file. And
no,
that's the
I hear you. And that's why I said, I think it's a bit of a curiosity.
To the chair, I was just going to say, I don't think the minor variance is letting anything go through. The minor variance is specific to the garage. That's the subject of the proposal here. If you wanted us to flag it with Realty Services again, we can do that as a courtesy. But again, we don't tend to use minor variances as an enforcement tool for other things that are going on. We try and focus what we do here on the minor variance and the proposal at hand.
No, I'm satisfied with that. Or you? Yeah. All right. Okay. Anything further of the planner? All right. Is the applicant here or online? Does the applicant wish to? All right. I'm told nothing. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of the application? In support of the application. Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application. Being none. Committee, where are we? Councillor Yeo.
In favor?
Do I have a seconder? No, I'm looking for a motion. So are you going to put that motion on the floor?
As printed, yes.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Mr. Finn? All right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All right. Councillor Yeo.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
All right. Ms. Archer. Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Mr. Strangway.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. The application is approved. All right. Now, where are we here? Mr. Shahid, I believe we're looking at a new report for this application. Is that correct? All right. And has everyone got a copy of that, I'm assuming? All right. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so the subject property is situated on the shoreline of the Talbot River with access from Duncan Drive. The property is located in the low-density residential neighborhood comprised of single detached dwellings and assorted accessory structures. So the subject property currently contains a one-story single detached dwelling with 3 sheds. So yes, to repeat what you said there, Mr. Chair. So there is a package that has been provided to the committee members. The package contains revised reliefs and revised conditions and a revised Appendix C. So there are no additional reliefs being added. The changes, originally relief was advertised for 2 components, one being recognizing the existing sheds that are in the front yard, and we are recognizing all 3 of them, as well as the proposed garage, which is also considered to be in the front yard. And the second relief was, as the zoning bylaw permits a maximum of 2 accessory structures, so with recognizing the 3 sheds and the detached garage, that would come to a total of 4. And then just this morning, the applicant had actually reached out to us and said that 2 of the sheds faced damage from the snow, so they're going to be removing 2 of them. So if you refer to the revised Appendix C, I've highlighted which 2 sheds are being removed. So as a result of those 2 sheds being removed, relief is only required for 1 shed, which we're recognizing in the front yard, and also the proposed garage, which is to be located in the front yard. The sketch here I have on the slide is from the previous report, so please disregard this. Okay. So again, relief is required for the location of the existing shed and also the proposed detached garage. Now, the Township of Eldon zoning bylaw allows for detached garages to be situated in the front yard on waterfront properties. However, a garage must be under 56 square meters in floor area in order to be eligible for this provision. The proposed garage is around 76, just under 76 square meters, and therefore not eligible to be located in the front yard under this zoning bylaw. Now, this provision with the size requirement is rare amongst the various zoning bylaws that are applicable in the city of Kawartha Lakes, and this has been taken into account in the rural zoning bylaw that was adopted by council, although under appeal and not currently in effect, which allows for garages on waterfront properties without a minimum or maximum size. The proposed garage and existing shed complies with the applicable front yard setback. They are located distantly from the street. They uphold a sufficient water setback, and they comply with the minimum distances from the septic bed in the rear yard. In terms of comments received after the writing of the report, the Lake Simcoe Conservation Authority stated they have no objection to the approval of the application and that a permit is required. Comments were also received from the public. The owners of 35 Duncan Drive stated they are in support of the application. The owners of 25 Duncan Drive also stated voiced their support for the approval of the variance. All in all, staff acknowledges the application meets all 4 tests of a minor variance and respectfully recommends approval of the application subject to the revised conditions identified. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Questions of the planner? All right, being none, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. I certainly hope you enjoyed your stay with us.
We did, thank
Yeah.
you.
Your name?
Joseph Madden, Joe. I'd like to thank the committee for their time, and especially Ms. Evans and Mr. Shahid for the correspondence. It was very helpful, and I'll answer any questions.
Well, we always appreciate comments positively regarding our staff because they do an excellent job, and it's not always an easy task, but thank you for that. We do appreciate it. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, being none. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking the time. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in support of this application, in support of the application? Anyone here online wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Opposition to the application? Right, being none, committee, and it'll be as amended. Mr. Strang?
As amended and recommended by staff.
Do I have a seconder? Did I miss somebody? Ms. Richardson, all right. Any further comments or questions with respect to the motion on the floor? All right. Let's start with Mr. Strangway then.
In favor.
Ms. Richardson.
In favor.
Mr. Archer.
In favor.
Mr. Erickson.
In favor.
Mr. Finn.
In favor.
Councillor Yo.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. Your application is approved, sir. Thank you. Well, consider the a number of applications we did. Between you and Mr. Erickson, I'm going to get Erickson up here, Mr. Erickson up here as well. Yeah, I think Ms. Berry might have something to say about that, but all right. Ms. Berry, anything under other business for you and your staff? All right. How about committee? Anything under other business? All right, being none. That being the fact, I guess we're all aware of the fact that the meeting in April is going to be on the Wednesday rather than the Thursday. So everyone's clear on that one. All right. And I guess the next thing is a motion to adjourn. Mr. Finn, Councillor Yo. Let's go with all those in favor. I've got a question now that we're off screen. We seem, now maybe it's just my imagination, but it seems to me we're seeing more applications where we're having to recognize